Right. Some say the Biden administration's foreign policy has been facilitating this potential hot war in Ukraine. With me now is U.S. Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas. He serves on the Senate Judiciary Committee, Intelligence Committee, and the Senate Armed Services Committee. Senator, welcome back to the program.
Hey, Tony, it's good to be back on with you.
So yesterday you were on Fox News, and your take on this is the weakness of the Biden administration has really facilitated what we're seeing unfold right now in Ukraine.
I think that's part of it, Tony, not the only part, but it's an important part. To understand, I think you need to step back and look at Vladimir Putin's thinking. Most of what he says these days is a pretext, it's a red herring for his buildup of troops in Ukraine's border. He says, for instance, that he can't tolerate Ukraine becoming part of NATO. Well, Tony, there's no plan for Ukraine to become a part of NATO. There's been no steps towards Ukraine becoming part of NATO. He says he can't tolerate NATO or American combat exercises on Ukraine's soil. Again, those exercises aren't occurring. We don't have large numbers of combat troops in Ukraine. We never have. We've on occasion had military advisors, usually in the far western side of Ukraine near Poland and Hungary. But we have those troops stationed in literally dozens of countries around the world, helping train and professionalize armed forces. So what is Putin really getting at here? What does he want to accomplish with a potential invasion of Ukraine? There's a few things, Tony. First, he wants to reassemble the greater Russian Empire, whether it's from Tsarist days or the days of Soviet Russia. There can be no greater Russia without Ukraine. Second, he wants to build a network of non-democratic states around Russia that are beholden to him as a kind of buffer. And third, he doesn't want any kind of democratic or representative government on the soil of Slavic nations around Russia. Otherwise, the Russian people might say, well, look at Ukraine and look at Georgia. They've become democracies. Why can't we become a democracy in Russia? That would threaten Putin's hold of power. So those are the three things that I think he really wants. But that's what he's always wanted, Tony. So the question then becomes, why now? Why not 2 years ago? Why not 4 years ago? And I think the only answer to that, Tony, is that Joe Biden's foreign policy towards Russia has invited Vladimir Putin to conduct this very dangerous, provocative buildup. If you look in his first weeks in office, Joe Biden extended a very one-sided nuclear arms control treaty, giving away the store to Vladimir Putin. That's what Vladimir Putin wanted from Donald Trump. Donald Trump refused to do it. Then he lifted any potential sanctions on the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline that will help Russia feed more gas into Germany, making Germany more beholden on Russia, letting Russia put more pressure not only on Ukraine, but NATO allies like Poland. There was the Colonial Pipeline hack, Tony, that was almost certainly directed by or tolerated by the Russian government, and we didn't really take any serious action against it. And then, of course, there was the complete debacle in Afghanistan last August. When you top that off last week, Joe Biden, in effect, gave Vladimir Putin the green light, talking about how minor incursions might be something that that would divide the West, not yield a stiff response. So when you look at what Vladimir Putin wants to achieve and the reason that he's always wanted to achieve it, yet he's only now going for broke, it would appear, I think you can't avoid the position that Joe Biden's weakness in his appeasement of Vladimir Putin has contributed substantially to this crisis.
So this is what he's wanted all along since he's been there a little over 20 years, 2 decades. He's been looking for the opportunity. And what you're saying is the failed foreign policy approaches of the Biden administration has set the table.
I think that's probably the primary reason, Tony, that he thinks now the timing is right. It's not the only reason. You have a new government in Germany that is finding its feet. It's divided on its posture towards Russia. You have the president of France up for re-election. You have gas prices that are very high, giving Russia more leverage over Europe. You have a Ukraine that has pretty steadily drifted away from Russia. They're not part of NATO. They're not part of the European Union, but it has become apparent since this 2014 invasion of Crimea and the Donbas, the Ukrainian people are moving away from them. The big difference now is you have a weak president.
We're up against a break, Senator, but one final question for you. If Donald Trump were in the White House, would that same opportunity be there?
I don't think so. Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine the last time there's a Democratic president. He may be about to invade when there's a new Democratic president. He didn't invade when there was a Republican president.
All right. Senator Tom Cotton, always great to talk with you. Thanks so much for joining us. All right, folks.